Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday morning, June 26th. I have several things that I'm going to go over today, so you may want to fast forward through some of them, and they're going to not make a lot of sense together, but I just want to get some of this stuff out so I can quit thinking about it. So the first thing that I am going to talk about is Soleil water, which is basically Himalayan pink sea salt that has saturated water to the point of where the rock salt will not dissolve anymore because the water is so saturated with the salt, and why that has become important in my life and might be something you'll be interested in. So about a month ago, I think a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half, I started getting heartburn on somewhat of a regular basis. And that is not something that I have experienced in the past. I mean, occasionally I would get it, but it was usually because I ate something. But this was getting to the point where it was happening a lot more frequently, and it was starting to cause issues for me sleeping at night. So I'm going to give a little bit of the specifics. So if you are struggling with anything like this, you can look it up or whatever. First, I didn't have heartburn all day long. It always seemed like it was after dinner. And then when I was trying to go to bed at night, it always felt like I had like this lump in my throat and snot, to be honest. And I could feel it like in the middle of my chest. And you know how our minds start going crazy. I'm starting to think like, God, do I have like stomach cancer or have I caused some sort of irritation in my esophagus? And this is not going away. So it was starting to concern me some, but it wasn't every day, and it wasn't all day long, which was the weirdest part. So I would do some investigation online occasionally, and I finally came about a description that kind of fit what I was going through, and I believe it is called water brash. And I think where it comes from is from using reverse osmosis water that does something, has a little bit of a negative effect to the body. And I've been drinking reverse osmosis water for about 2 years now. I mean, it might even be 3. I don't even remember how long it's been. So the fact that it's just now catching up to me, maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But anyway, it described the stuff that I was going through, because there was just always something like stuck here in the back of my throat. And so somewhere along the line, I think it was talking about adding like significant minerals back into reverse osmosis water, because that was something that was missing. And basically Himalayan pink salt was one of the things that was mentioned as like mineral salt or mineral drops to like bring that reverse osmosis water back up to where it needed to be. So of course I've had this sitting on my counter, and I use it occasionally. And so probably a week or so ago, I was like, I'm going to give myself a week, and I'm going to try drinking this Soleil water every day and see if that helps. The worst thing that happens is I drink that. It has helped me in the past when I had like a really, really bad headache, and I felt like my blood pressure was high, and I needed, intuitively, I felt like if I drank that, it would help, and it did. So I have used that in the past to help things. And I was like going, well, worst case scenario is I try it and it doesn't work, and we move on to something else. So I want to say, after giving that Soleil water a week to do its thing, I haven't had heartburn at all. And there are some other things that I have noticed that are positive that has helped me, that whether you have heartburn or not, you might want this for other reasons. I have noticed that my sleep is a lot deeper, and I'm having like dreams in the morning. So there's been a couple of mornings that I actually overslept, because I like to be up by 5:30 at the latest. And one morning I slept until like 5:45, but I was having like this deep sleep. And I've had plenty of energy during the day. I have not had any kind of crashes or anything. And I haven't been like really wanting to go to sleep at night. So I've been staying up a little bit later. So I have noticed that it's doing something positive for my sleep. And having a little bit more energy and taking the heartburn away. I'm sure there's probably other positive things that are happening because this stuff has like lots and lots of different minerals in your body. All needs that. So you can look up the benefits of pink Himalayan salt and decide for yourself if this is something that you think might be beneficial for you. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be. I am just giving you the experience of having heartburn for a month and a half and starting to be concerned, thinking, am I going to have to go to the doctor? Is there something physically wrong with me? Because I was starting to get concerned. It wasn't going away, and this seems to have helped it. So I'm going to give it the credit at this point in time. It's either that or it's coincidence. So check that out. If you've never studied anything about the pink Himalayan salt, try that Soleil water. It's it's SOLE. And again, it's just a bunch of pink Himalayan salt rocks in water. You have to have a plastic lid on top of it because it will corrode anything metal. But just put a bunch of rocks in there or a bunch of salt with water, and you want to have some of it left over that has not dissolved into the water, because that means the water is saturated. And if you run down, you can add a little bit more water. If the salt starts dissolving completely, then you need to add more salt, basically. So it's just basically like very heavy duty mineral water. And who can't use more minerals in your body? I take vitamins and everything, but I think this stuff helps with absorption from what I understand. So it might be something worth checking out. I just want to say that. So other thing I'm going to talk about real quick is my aunt's birthday party was last night. It went well. It's kind of, you never know how something like that's going to turn out. You've got family there, you've got acquaintances there, you've got family that's not blood but has become family. So it's like a whole mix of people. And depending on what table you get stuck at, it could be good or bad. And I was at a table that was mostly family and a couple of people that they go to Butler ball games with that I have met before in the past. So it was fun. And one of my cousins, she's definitely in the same camp as we are. And she was talking to one of the other family members who lives down in Florida. And I don't know if she set me up for this, what I'm getting ready to tell you, or I don't know if she set me up or if it just happened. It kind of feels like a setup, but she's not that type of person to do that. She had been talking to this guy for a little while, and I happened to walk over to say hi. And she goes, so did you ever break down and get the V? And I was like, fuck no. And I was like, fuck no. And she's like talking about she never would get the flu shot. She was a nurse for a long time out in Vegas, and she would never get the flu shot. So she always had to wear a mask for like 6 months at a time during flu season because she wasn't going to get that shot. And the guy that's standing there goes, yeah, I got both shots and both boosters. And I just was like, I kind of thought maybe he hadn't, and they had been talking about that was why she brought that up. So then I was kind of like, I wished I hadn't been quite so vigilant about how I said that, but he seemed to be okay with it. And he's like, well, I've been getting them since I was a child. We've all started getting them when we were small, and he's in his 60s. But we know that as time went by, the amount that children got became astronomical, ridiculous, and to the point of where it was starting to affect people negatively. So anyway, that was one conversation that happened. And then another one was, this gal was 70, but her mother is still alive. And her mother is probably got to be close to 90. And she was she was kind of making fun of her because her mom had 12 cans of corn. Now, I don't know if she was exaggerating and just used 12 as a number, or if her mother really had 12 cans of corn. But she was like, all right, Mom, I think you've got 12 cans of corn and you can stop now. And I was like, well, you never know, so obviously she's in one camp and her mother makes her own laundry detergent and all of this stuff. And, she seems like she's going to be pretty prepared for anything that may come down the line. But it was just interesting having different conversations. So at our table, it was me and my sister-in-law, my brother, my cousin and his ex-wife, and my other aunt and uncle that belonged to the Stone side of the family. And so we were all sitting there going, I'm like, somebody needs to tell a joke because we want everybody to think we have the fun table over here or something. And my cousin he goes, I still like your foot spa story the best. That's the best story. Tell that one. And so what he was talking about was we had Super Bowl in Indianapolis. I think it was 2012. We had it in like the very beginning of February. God, we lucked out because it was like in the 50s all week long. And in February in Indiana, normally it could be 20 degrees, it could be below, we could have a bunch of snow, it could be crappy weather in February. I mean, that seems to be like the longest month in the world. And we had beautiful weather the whole week because they had celebrations the whole week for the Super Bowl. And I had gotten offered to do that. I served beer down at one of like the little kiosks because one of the gals that I worked with at Keller Williams had a family member that was running some of the stands and he needed help. And so me and two other agents went down. I was the only one that ended up staying and working the whole week. They thought it was going to be too difficult, apparently. But long story short is I was on my feet for hours and hours and hours at a time. I was very, very heavy. I was heavier than I am now, I think. I don't even remember. And I didn't have the best shoes in the world because I was dirt poor, to be honest. This was after the market had tanked. I was bouncing around from home to home. And this was in that month period of time. And I've told this story before, when I was driving the Honda Civic that was so old that I couldn't get out of the driver's door one day and had to climb over to get out the passenger side. And it was unseasonably hot that year, and it didn't have air conditioning. So it was like the freaking most miserable. It was pretty miserable. But anyway, so I'm working down at the Super Bowl, and I think I made like $1,000 that week. I mean, I think I made like $250 in tips one night. I had so much money stuffed in my pockets that I couldn't even bend over. But what he was talking about was from being on my feet all day. I mean, I would hobble back to the bus, get back to the car and drive home. So it'd be 11 o'clock when I would get home, and my legs and my feet hurt so bad that I couldn't go to sleep. And so I tell the story that I would stand at the toilet and I would put my foot in. It was a clean toilet. I would put my foot in and I would just keep flushing the toilet and having that cold water running over my feet and everything because I was in so much pain. So anyway, he always likes me to tell that story. I don't know if he just likes that story or if he thinks that I ought to be embarrassed by that story or what the deal is. I don't know why that particular story just thrills him to death, but he's brought that up several times, wanting me to tell that story. I'm not too proud to tell any of the stories that I have done. But it did make it was cold water that made my feet feel better, that took away some of the pain so I could go to bed and get up and do the same thing the next day. I mean, by the time Friday was over and I walked back, I was just like, man, that was the hardest $1,000 that I have ever made in my life. But it was an interesting experience, that's for sure. So anyway, I think that's mostly it, except for one last little thing. I opened my calendar up yesterday to do past life readings again. I had 4 spots. They filled up really, really fast. If that is something that you're interested in and you want to shoot me an email for a later date when I open them up again, let me know. You can send it to jojoleanne@gmail.com, jojoleanne@gmail.com. So the next time I open up the calendar, I can give you first dibs on a time spot. It'll probably be sometime in August if I had to guess. So anyway, if anybody's interested in that, that's the story on that. I can't think of it. Oh, I told you there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about today. So, Roe versus Wade, I know everybody's heard about this, was sort of overturned. I mean, there's a lot of stuff being twisted around about the whole thing from what I can tell at this point. And a lot of people have their panties in a bunch for a lot of reasons. But I guess tomorrow, the SCOTUS has added another opinion day. And so there could be another ruling that comes out tomorrow before they go on vacation for a couple of weeks. And I saw a post this morning. I don't know if it's true or not, but something came out of Australia that said Australian news let the cat out of the bag about the 2020 E being overturned tomorrow. I don't know how they got that information that soon. I mean, they are ahead of us in time over there, but I don't know. Does that, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. It'll be interesting to see if, I do feel like what happened on Friday is like probably the first domino of a lot of things that are here to come on out from now on. I did watch Phil Godlewski. I watched both of his last lives, and he brings up a lot of good points about who's in control of SCOTUS right now, and if the white hats are in control, that means a lot of other things could possibly be happening in our favor here before long. So anyway, I'll keep you posted if anything else interesting happens. I hope you all have a good Sunday, and I will talk to you later. Bye.